Yesterday, not bad, into the 70s for most of us, a couple of upper 60s. Today, a little cooler. We're watching the air quality. So far, so good, but we have some changes on the way. I'm going to talk more about what that means in just a few minutes.
I'm Sam Adams, and I'm here at an apple orchard, and I'm going to explain to you how these apples will be turned into cider, which is increasingly becoming a popular drink across Montana.
News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Nice to see you, Southwest Montana. It is 5:13. Now, the old saying goes, if life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. Well, it turns out for one Bozeman business, life handed her apples. And as MTN's Sam Adams shows us, she's making cider.
With an increase in cider sales across Montana, Bozeman's Lockhorn cider is seeing this growing popularity.
People definitely start to think about apples this time of year. And we bring back our hot cider, so they love that as the temperature cools down.
When she's not practicing her balancing skills on the ladder, Anna Deal is the owner of Lockhorn Cider House.
Ooh, that's a foamy one.
For 10 years, this family-run operation has been on the corner of Main and Wallace in Bozeman, with a focus of including local ingredients in their beverages.
If you kind of think of the Gallatin Valley as a mature orchard and everybody's backyard just spread out, and there were so many apples that were just going to waste, because when the tree does well, it does really well.
What would have been wasted apples is now turned into Lockhorn's backyard brew. Just last year, Lockhorn collected around 14,000 pounds of apples for this seasonal cider, a beverage that Anna says has grown in popularity over the years.
That interest in cider is growing just because people are looking for something that's light and crisp as an alternative to beer.
And this trend isn't only seen at Lockhorn. According to the Northwest Cider Association, Montana has the fastest growing cider market in the Northwest with a 20% increase in sales. But why is this drink all the buzz?
I know a lot of people, myself included, that can't drink beer, but they can drink our cider.
Almost all hard cider is gluten-free, no added sugars, no preservatives, making it a more accessible drink to those who can't have beer due to dietary issues. On top of that, Anna believes the appeal to cider goes deeper.
What I don't often think about is that every drop of the beverage comes from an apple. So it's kind of fun to think about water coming up from the soil to the roots, to the tree, to the apple, and into your glass.
To help out the apple growers in the valley, Lockhorn is offering a free pint in exchange for 25 pounds of apples. In Bozeman, Sam Adams, MTN News.
Well, it may be a little frosty this morning. We'll talk about the warm-up that's expected as we get toward the weekend in just a few minutes.
Your weather starts now with meteorologist Matt Elwell.
Wow, a little chilly this morning as you step outside. This is the Community Hospital of Anaconda ICAM this morning. Our temperature about 27 degrees in Butte, in the Bozeman area. A couple of areas of frost for the early morning right now, sitting at 33 degrees with relatively light winds. Our skies are pretty clear as we start out the morning. I don't expect that to change a whole lot throughout the daylight hours. Most of the temperatures near the freezing mark for western Montana. You get into central and eastern Montana a little crisp, but nowhere near the freezing mark. Hour by hour for today, I think our temperatures with that cooler start, it's going to be a little rougher to really get things moving back into the 70s. I expect 60s for most of us under mostly sunny skies. We do get a little bit of cloud cover late in the day, more toward the evening hours. Still have a weak frontal boundary not too far away. Shouldn't be a big issue for us today as that moves out. But we are looking at a high wind watch for your Friday, especially afternoon and evening. Peak gusts 50 to 60 miles an hour with dry conditions and a dry frontal boundary passing by. The fire danger is a little higher. We're under a fire weather watch for most of southwest Montana and southern Montana as a whole. You look at the wind speeds really picking up as you go into Friday afternoon. A lot of 40, 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts, very possible. It dies off pretty quickly. We still have a little bit of wind at times on Saturday, but overall a lot more comfortable as this system tries to work its way back this direction. And again, it's more toward that Friday, Saturday time frame that we see that wind picking up. Notice there is a little bit of moisture associated with this. I don't think it makes its way across southwest Montana and with any real impact as far as rain's concerned. It's more the wind and a subtle change in temperatures. Daytime highs today into the 60s, mostly sunny, light wind for most of us. at least during the daytime hours. The evening, not too bad either, mainly clear. Chilly conditions, again, approaching the freezing mark, but a few degrees warmer than what we're dealing with now. Extended forecast, we're kind of sandwiching a cool day, 2 cool days on top of a warm day on Friday with the wind, but then our daytime highs stay pretty steady right into the low to mid 70s into next week. Still very minimal rain chances expected over the course of the next 7 days. I'm going to look in depth at that school day forecast in just a couple of minutes.
Thank you very much, Matt. Now, a family cruise off the coast of California turned into a life or death situation for an 8-year-old boy this week. And a Townsend woman played a role in getting him from the ship to the hospital. MTN's Tom Buchanan has the story.
A Townsend woman turned Coast Guard helicopter pilot was at the center of a harrowing medevac rescue on Tuesday, about 45 miles off the coast of California. What was supposed to be a tranquil family vacation aboard a cruise ship from Vancouver to Hawaii turned into much more than the young family bargained for. This is the moment Daniel Young, age 8, was hoisted from the cruise ship and onto a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter. Daniel was suffering from the onset of appendicitis. His mother and brother were hoisted up next. Catherine McDonald from Townsend was in the cockpit, hoisting them up 200 feet into the belly of the helicopter.
We heard from the flight surgeon that they would prefer for the medevac to be as soon as possible. Appendicitis can develop obviously very quickly, and it can get worse very quickly.
This was McDonald's first live hoisting under conditions that were not optimal. McDonald and the crew were faced with dense fog that blanketed the cruise ship and surrounding sea.
We tried to get the boat into a better position and better weather, but the fog seemed to be following us.
The crew flew Daniel back to a hospital in Humboldt, California, where he was immediately rushed into emergency surgery. The crew visited Daniel and his family at the hospital on Wednesday, where Daniel was making a full recovery.
We got to see them yesterday, which was pretty special. I think we don't get a lot of closure with the people that we pick up often. It was really special to meet Daniel's mom. She was just so grateful, and that was like really, really special.
McDonald wants to give credit where credit is due and says she owes a lot to the support from her home state.
I definitely want to say a thank you to my family and friends in Montana. I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for my village in Montana who has supported me.
And despite the hiccup in the trip, the Young family is planning to rejoin the cruise ship down in LA.
And he's doing great. He and his family actually are going to try and go meet up again with the cruise ship and finish. There's another week left of the cruise. They're going to try and finish it. So that's pretty cool.
I think we have him convinced to go back on his cruise.
Reporting in Helena, Tom Buchanan, MTN News.
How weather starts now with meteorologist Matt Elwell.
Yeah, I'm putting A's in here, maybe more B category, but the afternoon's going to be pretty nice. The early morning, chilly. You'll probably need a jacket for the kids. There's a chance you may need to scrape the ice off your windshield as well. A little bit of traffic heading into Yellowstone National Park this morning, not much. Pretty quiet morning, 25. We've got calm wind, clear skies, and really not much to complain about outside of the fact that it's a little cool into the early part of the day. Lots of sunshine helping to boost the temperatures back into the low to mid 60s for most of us. Daytime highs are trying to build, and I think as you get into Friday and we're dealing with more wind, there's a good chance that these temperatures will be a little closer to 80 for tomorrow. The state as a whole dealing with some cool temperatures. Pretty chilly up along the High Line back into northwest Montana. The coolest temperatures in southwest Montana as it stands now. Rain chances are there for a few areas to our north as you go into Friday, especially toward the evening, and the front trying to pass through. Even some high mountain snow out toward Deer Lodge. Most of this is going to be on the light side. If we see anything at all, remember the lower part of the atmosphere is very dry. It's hard to get that precipitation to make its way all the way to the ground. So while there is a very slight rain chance, it's not all that meaningful from the weather standpoint. Today, light winds, lots of sun, temperatures into the 60s. I think today will be pleasant. Tomorrow's just going to be warm and windy.
Sure. I mean, The 2 W's,
Yeah,
I guess.
warm and windy.
That's what you like to live by. All right, time for a quick break here on Montana This Morning. When we come back, we're going to have your headlines and another look at that forecast. You won't want to miss it right here on Montana This Morning.
MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
I'm Jonathan Amberian in Helena. MTN is taking a closer look at some of the claims in Montana campaign ads. In this Truth Be Told segment, I'll have a closer look at a claim from John Tester's campaign about Tim Sheehy's position on abortion.
Airstrikes intensify between Israel, Iran, and their proxies. I'm Jared Hill with how the White House and other world leaders are reacting to the threat of all-out war.
How's she going? I'm John Amy here in Butte, and a local drive-in theater won a big victory in court today.
Alrighty, it is 5:30 on this Thursday morning. Oh my goodness, I see some action on the old MSU camera. Some cars going by.
Yeah,
what are the
traffic.
Bobcats doing up this early?
They're probably getting practice very early.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
true.
There we go.
Yeah.
Early morning temperatures. They're practicing with jackets today.
Yeah.
Temperatures this morning a little frosty. I had a little frost in my car. I didn't have to scrape the windshield, but on the hood of the car, I could definitely see a little frost. Temperatures into the 20s and 30s for most of us this morning. We do have pretty clear skies and light winds, and that's part of the reason why these temperatures are so much cooler. When you don't have the stronger winds, that cool air just kind of sinks to the surface of the earth. And that's what we're dealing with. Frosty conditions there in a few areas, pretty patchy. We do have some cool conditions today, but warm and windy tomorrow. I'm going to break it down as we get toward the weekend in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. By now, I'm sure you're tired of seeing campaign ads. They flood your television screens every single night, and it's probably no surprise Montana's U.S. Senate race is one of the most expensive in the country, with millions of dollars being spent on campaign ads. But are those ads truthful? MTN is taking a closer look at some of the claims that you may have seen in a series that we call Truth Be Told. This morning, political reporter Jonathan Amberian begins our coverage with a closer look at a political ad from John Tester's campaign focused on abortion.
Abortion rights have been a major campaign issue for Democratic candidates across the country this year, and that's true for Senator John Tester as well. One recent ad from the committee Republicans for Tester claims that his opponent, Tim Sheehy, would open the door to an abortion ban here in this state.
The last thing Montana women need is having the government tell us what we can do with our own bodies. Tim Sheehy wants to let politicians ban abortions, even here in Montana.
This marks the first major election since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, so it's perhaps no surprise abortion is a hot topic on the campaign trail. Tim Sheehy's campaign says he's proudly pro-life and favors common-sense protections for when a baby feels pain, with exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. And in a statement to Montana Public Radio, Sheehy said, quote, "Further limits must be left to the states." But Senator John Tester's campaign argues that would allow states to introduce broader abortion bans, noting Republicans in the Montana legislature have already passed laws to tighten abortion rules, even though most have been held up in court.
Certainly abortion is a major issue for Democrats for going on the offense.
Louis Jacobson is a chief correspondent with PolitiFact. MTN has partnered with the nonpartisan website to fact-check campaign ads like these.
Sheehy wants to take away our personal freedoms.
Jacobson researched a more specific claim that Sheehy would allow politicians to pass abortion bans without exceptions, and found that claim mostly false, although he says there is an element of truth.
It would be kind of within a state's right to put in place a ban on abortion with zero exceptions. He personally says he doesn't want to see that happen, but by saying that states should decide, he is creating a pathway for the state to do that regardless of what his own personal preference is.
While Sheehy has been quoted criticizing CI 128, this year's ballot measure that would specifically add abortion rights to Montana's constitution, he said during Monday night's debate that if Montana voters approve it, he'll respect that.
I'm a law and order candidate who believes in our Constitution, both of our state and our federal government, and if the people of Montana vote for it and it passes, then it's the law of the land.
Sheehy's views on abortion certainly contrast with Tester, who called for reinstating Roe v. Wade at the national level during the debate. Join us at the same time tomorrow for our next Truth Be Told segment, focusing on an ad from the Sheehy campaign. You can find all of our Truth Be Told stories on our MTN websites. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Now on to the international scene. The White House is working to curb Israel's response to the latest airstrikes from Iran as Israel begins its own ground operation in Lebanon. Amid concerns of a regional war, multiple nations are planning to evacuate their citizens. CBS's Jared Hill has the latest.
Flashes in Lebanon disturbed the darkness overnight. Multiple Israeli airstrikes rocked the suburbs around the city of Beirut. At least 6 people were killed and 7 wounded in Thursday's bombings, according to the nation's health officials. This comes after Israel vowed to retaliate for Iran's ballistic missile attack a day before. No! Almost all intercepted with the help of U.S. destroyers based in the eastern Mediterranean. Top Israeli military officials Wednesday said they have the capabilities to reach any point in the Middle East, and our enemies, who have not understood this yet, will soon understand. From Japan to Australia, a growing number of nations are planning to evacuate citizens from Lebanon as fighting intensifies. Israel says it's beginning a limited ground incursion targeting the Iran-backed Hezbollah militia. President Biden Wednesday said he spoke with G7 leaders to discuss their response to the conflict, which will include new sanctions on Iran.
We'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all 7 of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
Meanwhile, devastation grows in Gaza. At least 80 Palestinians were killed in multiple Israeli strikes. Israel, continuing fighting through Rosh Hashanah, acknowledged the Jewish holiday isn't complete without the dozens of hostages still held by Hamas. Jared Hill, CBS News.
And President Biden says his administration would not support Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, a little bit closer to home, a big development in Butte. A drive-in movie theater's fight to prevent a truck stop moving next door. MTN's John Amy tells us about the court ruling in favor of the movie theater.
A Butte district judge in this courtroom ruled in favor of an iconic drive-in movie theater that's been involved in a fight with a truck stop that wants to move next door to this outdoor theater.
We're happy. We might go out and have a hamburger.
A group of supporters did not hide their enthusiasm after District Judge Kurt Kruger delivered a favorable ruling for Silverbow Drive-In. The judge reversed a decision made in February by Butte's Zoning Board of Adjustments that granted a conditional use permit to Maverick to open a gas station next to the drive-in on German Gulch Road.
We don't know how much time that buys them. We don't know if Mavericks is going to come back, but for the moment, I think they can breathe a sigh of relief, and I'm assuming have, a good summer of 2025 at the theater.
The theater owners have been opposed to this truck stop moving next to them, claiming the light and noise pollution would disturb moviegoers.
The lighting, if they go through and go forward again, we'll probably protest again because the lights are going to be a distraction to our movie. We need dark skies.
As a result of the judge's ruling, Maverick would now have to reapply for a permit if it still plans to build a service station at that location. The Hanson family, which has been operating the drive-in just south of Butte since 1977, hope this doesn't happen.
This is a legacy for us, passing it on to our kids because they are our daughter and son are involved in the business and they've grown up in the business and their kids love it too. They want to continue it and so we want to be able to hand that legacy down to them.
In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
And a dive into life on the reservation is what students at Two Eagle River School want to show the public, and the Rez Made photo exhibition is doing just that. MTN's Robin Iron has more.
Students from Two Eagle River School and Salish Kootenai College are bringing Rez life to the city, and they're showing their work here at the new Big Fork Library.
It feels like, I guess anything's possible. Like, you don't have to be stuck on the reservation. Like, if my work can go out there, so can I.
Emma Spotted Wolf's portraits were recently displayed at Photoville in New York City. Photoville, an outdoor art exhibition, brings storytellers from around the world to show their work, including two Eagle River students and their story, Life on the Rez.
I feel like life on the reservation, no one would really understand, like the way you grow up, culture, and just the way people talk to each other. And I feel like life on the res, if you come and you don't know the res, like you're not gonna, I guess you will survive, but you won't. It's like a whole different world.
And other students like Zayrin Ridgely wants their pictures to be an experience.
I try to think about the details, what I would want my family members to see, you know? I want people to know what I think, what I feel whenever I take my pictures.
Over the years, the photography program at Two Eagle has opened many doors for students. And for some, it is their first time picking up a camera.
I definitely know how to work a camera better. Whenever I first started this class, I didn't even know, I didn't know nothing about a camera. But now I'm I don't know, I'm just so proud of myself.
Katie Medicine Bowl, a former Two Eagle student, traveled to New York to represent her fellow classmates.
It was amazing just to see our pictures out there in the world and to see all these other people viewing them. It was kind of hard though, being there without the rest of the students.
Medicine Bowl says photography has changed her life.
I still really want to just represent our culture and get it out there. All of this has just brought me closer to helping out and showing that we're still here as people.
The Rez Made photo exhibition will be displayed until November. In Big Fork, I'm Robin Iron, MTN News.
All right, thank you very much, Robin. It is 5:41. We're going to take a short break here on Montana this morning, but when we come back, cleats are key if you are a wide receiver. But for Bobcat Lanyea Alexander Jr., his cleats mean so much more. Coming up, our Grace Lawrence sits down with Alexander to talk shoes and being a Bobcat after having to sit out last season. But first, let's take a look over onto the Money Watch. Well, Dow Jones up 39 points, NASDAQ up 14 points, and the S&P 500 nearly 1 point. We're going to have more of your CBS News and your Money Watch when we come back.
Bank of America says its issues are largely resolved after customers reported outages yesterday. Some clients claimed they couldn't see their accounts, and others who were able to access their accounts reported seeing a zero balance. So far, the company has not said what caused the issue. Two racing teams, including one co-owned by NBA legend Michael Jordan, have filed an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR and its chairman Jim France. The teams are accusing the stock car series of acting like, quote, monopolistic bullies, alleging its new profit-sharing charter limits teams to its series, tracks, and suppliers. So far, NASCAR has not commented on the lawsuit. And soon, SpongeBob SquarePants fans won't have to go under the sea to Bikini Bottom to get a taste of the Krusty Krabs menu. On October 8th, Wendy's is launching the Krabby Patty collab, which features a burger with special Krabby Patty sauce and a pineapple-flavored Frosty. The new menu items mark the 25th anniversary of the iconic Nickelodeon cartoon. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Chanel Call.
I have to be honest, the thing that appeals to me is that pineapple frosty. Doesn't that sound good?
I'm intrigued. I mean, the Krabby Patty secret formula is out.
You can deal with that. I'll taste test the pineapple frosty.
It's been a mystery for 25 years.
Has it? All right, Community Hospital of Anaconda ICAM. Temperature sitting at 27 this morning. Good visibility. We've got clear skies. It's just chilly and probably a little frosty for a few areas. 31 in Belgrade. Early morning temperatures are definitely cool across the area, mainly due to these clear skies we have in store. For the day, temperature right now 25 degrees in West Yellowstone, the coolest in the state. Temperatures expected to peak into the 60s, sunny and cooler today. We've got light winds, so that shouldn't be a big issue for the area for today. Our current conditions generally clear in southwest Montana. Our concerns really peaking on Friday with the potential of some high winds, very dry conditions, and we do have a frontal boundary moving through. There'll be some showers off to our north, but I don't expect that to be a big difference maker. Our fire weather potential is fairly high with those gusty winds, low humidity, and of course the fire danger, anything that you might be able to spark could very easily get out of control as we're looking at 40, 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts in some cases across western and southwestern Montana for Friday. By Saturday afternoon, we may have a little bit of wind to deal with, but it should be letting up for the most part. We have a frontal boundary trying to work its way back this direction. I don't see this bringing us rain in particular. There may be a few showers for areas off to our north by the time you head into, say, Friday mid to late part of the evening. These showers start to move in, but there's not much to these. Daytime highs into the 60s, mostly sunny, generally light wind. With the clear skies again tonight, our overnight temperatures may be down a little closer to the freezing mark under clear skies tonight and early tomorrow. We'll begin to see a lot more wind on Friday. Daytime highs are going to spike to near 80. Have a frontal boundary moving in. Very slight chances of rain out toward Anaconda and Deer Lodge, but overall pretty dry for the areas we step into your weekend, with daytime highs staying into the 70s for most of us into next week. I'll talk more about the school day forecast in just a couple of minutes.
For Bobcats wide receiver Lanyata Alexander Jr., last season was tough. Because Montana State was the third stop in his collegiate career, he'd need a waiver to play right away. Despite it being pretty common in this current climate, ultimately the NCAA denied the waiver, forcing him to sit out a year. But he overcame the hardship and he's thriving now and doing it in style.
When I found out that I couldn't play, it was very hard for me mentally. I honestly was ready to, quit ball. Being able to sit down with Coach Vegan and Coach Udy, John Shirkey, for about an hour, just figuring out a plan and to just stay mentally in it.
I think he recognized, in that moment while he was struggling, he did have a program that had people that cared about him and were willing to allow him to see those struggles through, I guess.
You mentioned your dad. Is he your role model and everything?
He's my biggest role model. He's the reason why I play sports, and football actually wasn't the sport that I started with. It was basketball. I love basketball. Basketball was my first love, and I actually wanted to go D1 in basketball, but it turns out that I was better in football, so we decided to go through the football route, and been playing football ever since.
Makes sense you played basketball, because basketball, I played it. It's a sport of style, and I know you take your style very seriously.
Very.
So can you tell me about kind of your cleat collection, your shoe collection, all of it?
Of course, yeah. My dad was a very big shoe head. He loved collecting shoes, mainly Jordans, and he eventually passed those on to me. And then when I got here to Montana State, I wasn't very familiar with Under Armour. And I was like, I'm the type of guy where it's like, if I look good, I feel good, and I'm definitely gonna play good. That's my motto, that's what I live by. I think I have about 15 pairs of cleats, all different colors.
Favorite pair, oldest pair, and most exclusive pair of sneakers?
My favorite pair, I have a pair of Jordan 3s, the black cement 3s. The ones that say Nike Air on them. It's my favorite pair of all time. It's OGs, My oldest pair, cool gray 11s. I think they're from 2009. My most exclusive pair, I'd probably say the Kobe 8 Venus Beaches. Oh my gosh, those are my favorite shoes to hoop in, whatever. The Kobe's in general are my favorite shoe of all time. I love Kobe's, and I'm a big Kobe fan.
In Bozeman, Grace Lawrence, MTN Sports.
Hi everybody, Scott Breen at First Interstate Arena with the Wrangler Team Roping Championships wrapping up. How big is it? Well, let's just say a purse of over $1 million in cash and prizes, drawing men, women, and full-fledged families like this one from all over.
Welcome to the Hutchison crib.
This is Jerome Hutchison, whose family lives inside these quarters, maybe more than their home in Watford City, North Dakota.
It's really fun. I love it. It's a blast.
Teenage brothers Hayden and Braden are talking about life on the road. This crib is where they've been planted all week.
Half of it's like a small hotel room, and then the other half's a stock trailer.
It's parked on the Metro Park grounds about as far away from First Interstate Arena as a family can get, underneath a nice big shade tree. The Hutchisons hauled 7 horses, 2 trucks, and 2 trailers to Billings.
Greatest lifestyle there is to live, I think, being with your family on the road with your horses and team roping and rodeoing.
Cassidy is the youngest. She's 12 with a passion for junior high rodeo, but she's also won at these team roping events. And with an abundance of travel, all 3 kids homeschool, which has its pluses and minuses.
Like, I just kind of want to like go ride horses and get it done with, but it's pretty good. It doesn't take too long to do a day worth of school.
At some point, every family member has roped with the others, including Mom Kelsey, and they win a lot. This run for Jerome and Hayden on Tuesday was worth a check for more than $20,000.
We spend a lot of money here, so we dang sure got to win to stay at least even.
It's expensive, but it's fun.
We've had good years here where we've won 40, 50,000.
15-year-old Braden wasn't even old enough to drive 2 years ago when he won a new Dodge pickup at this very event.
My nerves was a little high, but just another steer.
That's probably our highlight of our biggest wins.
When they announced it, it was unreal. We all started tearing up, like it was cool.
We try not to drive it. We try to let it stay as new as it can so that we don't wear it out for him.
Surely, with a family of 5 constantly traveling in tight quarters, somebody has to play the role of annoying at times.
Braden definitely gets on our nerves the most.
Braden.
The middle child typically seems to take the hardest hits. But you know what? They'll put up with it if they want to ride in that new pickup. Scott Breen, MTN Sports.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with meteorologist Matt Elwell.
All right, 5:54. Couldn't read that clock there for a second. Temperatures are a little frosty in the morning. I'm still giving us an A because the temperatures are going to warm up. We've got a lot of sun. We've got light winds. It's still a pleasant day. But it is definitely chilly this morning. This is a look into Yellowstone National Park, the west entrance there. Our temperature holding into the mid-20s in West, 25 our current reading, 27 in Butte. Bozeman sitting at 31. I had a little frost on my car, at least on the hood. I didn't have anything to worry about on the windshield, but certainly frosty conditions to start the morning. It's all lit up there on the Montana State campus. And temperatures holding into the 60s for the afternoon. Lots of sunshine, very light winds, and we're really looking at interesting next couple of days. Temperatures a little chilly into the morning today. There are some chances for rain as you get later into the week, and by later that means tomorrow. I think most of the day tomorrow is going to be very windy throughout most of the afternoon. Then we start seeing some showers trying to move in toward Friday evening, and you can see it's all pretty light. The problem that I see from the weather standpoint, this lower part of the atmosphere doesn't have the moisture to really support seeing much accumulation, if any. So outside of a few drips and drops off to our north, I think the biggest concern that we have for tomorrow is going to be the wind and the higher fire danger as a result. So that rain isn't really doing much for us. Mostly sunny, light winds out of the south to southeast. I think that we'll see a wind shift tomorrow, more southwesterly. And we are expecting to see some strong gusts, so we might as well enjoy today. Maybe that's why I give us A for today, because tomorrow is going to be windy and feel more like a blast furnace at some point. Temperatures definitely up and down for the next couple of days. We're kind of sandwiched in between some warm temperatures and windy temperatures on Friday. I guess that's a windy sandwich, I guess. I don't know. But it is going to be comfortable for the next 3 days with temperatures. It's just going to be windy tomorrow.
All right, perfect for maybe a little homecoming action.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe. All right, we're going to take a short break here on Montana This Morning, but when we come back, I'm really looking forward to sharing this story. This Israeli couple had to move their wedding into a bomb shelter amid missiles. We're going to tell you this couple's story when we come back.
From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
I'm Cassidy Powers here at Haven, a nonprofit that supports survivors of domestic violence. Stay tuned because I talked to their executive director about why they've seen a drastic increase in overnight stays.
A bombshell court filing in a case against former President Trump offers new details into his alleged efforts to illegally overturn the 2020 election. I'm Jared Hill with why the special counsel says he's not immune from prosecution.
I'm MTN's Heaven Van, and right now I'm in Belgrade, standing on land that may soon be used to address the growing mental health crisis among Gallatin Valley youth.
And we've had too many kids in crisis, and we've lost too many kids. So we know we can do better, and we are going to do better.
Alrighty, it is 6 o'clock on this Thursday morning. Jane McDonald and Matt Owl with you. Bright and early, beautiful look over in the mining city. Nice little head frames all lit up there.
Yep.
Matt, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing okay. It was a little frosty as I stepped outside. I was glad I had a jacket pretty close at hand, and I think most of us would be. You can see beautiful conditions this morning. It's just crisp and cool, starting to feel a little more like fall.
We're getting into the vibe, yep.
Yeah, temperatures into the 20s and 30s for most of the area. 25, one of our cooler temperatures out toward West Yellowstone, but trailed not far behind with the temperatures in Butte. It's going to be a pretty nice day. Temperatures expected to be into the low 60s, pretty close to average, but we're also looking at a lot of sunshine. That's going to help things out for most of the area. You can see the temperatures are back and forth here for the next few days. I'll talk more about what all this means in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Well, domestic violence is on the rise. Someone charged with partner family member assault almost every day in Gallatin County. Cassidy Powers visited Haven, the local nonprofit that helps domestic violence survivors, to find out why the number is so high.
Domestic violence happens more often around the Gallatin Valley than you may think. In fact, in just the last year, one local nonprofit that supports survivors of domestic violence has seen an 87% increase in overnight stays.
It's a massive issue, much bigger than many of us realize.
For over a decade, Erica Aites-Coyle has helped survivors of domestic violence here in the Gallatin Valley. As the executive director of Haven, she's worked firsthand with every one of the 1,200 survivors that come through Haven's program every year.
That number can be a big surprise for a lot of members of our community. And just thinking about 1,200 people, that's like the population of West Yellowstone, the entire population experiencing domestic violence.
According to Break the Cycle, a domestic violence statistic tracker, every minute, 32 people experience domestic violence in the United States. And those numbers are reflected right here in Gallatin County. Last year, with a budget of $8.6 million, Haven opened their new facility with 30 bedrooms for domestic violence survivors. Today, those 30 rooms are almost at capacity, and Erica says will likely be full by the end of the year. Since the facility's opening, Haven has seen an 87% increase in overnight stays. But that's not the only thing on the rise. They've also seen an 8% increase in the number of phone calls they receive to their 24-hour support line. So why are we seeing such an uptick?
The Gallatin County is growing by quite a bit, and so inevitably we're going to see increased needs on all of our nonprofits.
But Detective Captain Dana McNeil with Bozeman Police tells me domestic violence rates seem to be growing even faster than the population.
We see an increase of about 10% every year in domestic violence. You know, we have a population growth in our city of about 5-6%, somewhere in there. We would say that probably our domestic violence rates are outpacing the growth.
So is there a way to stop the incline? Haven has a number of prevention programs, working with youth as well as the general public to get upstream of this issue.
Our focus is really on how do we keep people from becoming abusive, because really the responsibility is on the person causing the abuse.
If you're in a domestic violence situation or you're not sure but want to seek help, Haven's 24-hour phone line is open to anyone. Just call 406-586-4111.
I have the immense privilege of getting to see the very real impact that Haven has every day on our community. That's something that's very meaningful and gives me a lot of hope.
In Bozeman, Cassidy Powers, MTN News.
And the bicyclist that was hit by a vehicle in Butte last week is recovering from his injuries at home. According to a family member, 41-year-old Leonard Ryan White was seriously injured when he was struck by a vehicle at the intersection of Harrison Avenue and Civic Center Road September 26th. Witnesses to the accident initially reported the victim appeared to be a teenager. The victim's family tells us White suffered a skull fracture, brain bleeding, and swelling in the incident. No citations have been issued. And, and the driver who crashed into a Butte apartment building on September 22nd has died. According to a GoFundMe post on social media, Sean Fernandez died on September 27th at a hospital in Billings as a result of injuries from the accident. Fernandez crashed his car into the side of the apartment complex after losing control of his vehicle on the curve from Harrison Avenue onto Front Street. And on the national scene this morning, there are new details in the special counsel's January 6th related case against former President Donald Trump. Court documents unsealed by a federal judge yesterday accused Trump of engaging in a criminal scheme to overturn the 2020 election results and that he acted as a private citizen. The filing comes in response to the July Supreme Court decision that presidents are immune from criminal prosecution for official acts. Trump has pleaded not guilty and denies all wrongdoing. CBS News' Jared Hill has more.
New revelations in former President Donald Trump's federal election interference case. Special counsel Jack Smith, in a filing unsealed by a judge, alleges Trump resorted to crimes, acting not as president but a campaigner to try and stay in office nearly 4 years ago.
We will never give up. We will never concede.
The 165-page brief is part of the special counsel's attempt to salvage the case after last summer's Supreme Court ruling that presidents have immunity for official acts.
The brief attempts to outline all of the evidence the prosecutor has to show that the actions of the former president were in his capacity as a private candidate.
According to the brief, then Vice President Mike Pence had warned Trump at least 9 times to give up his fight to stop the certification of the 2020 election results, saying he could run again. Still, prosecutors argue Trump went ahead with an alleged pressure campaign on Pence.
If Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election.
The court documents allege that when Trump was told Pence was in danger on January 6th, he replied, "So what?" And that when his advisors asked him to issue a message to calm the crowd and stop the riot, he refused. Prosecutors also say Trump's allies sought to create chaos, including one unnamed Trump supporter who encouraged protests, urging, "Make them riot." Online yesterday, Trump called the filing falsehood-ridden and an attempt to interfere with the 2024 presidential election, which is now just 33 days away. Jared Hill, CBS News.
And this case will go to trial before next month's election, and if Trump wins, it will likely be shut down. And Montana nonprofits are joining forces to address the growing mental health needs among Gallatin Valley youth. Our Heaven Van is in Belgrade touring the future location of what could be the Gallatin Valley Youth Behavioral Campus.
Right here in Belgrade, I'm standing on land that used to be known as Bootstrap Ranch. But soon this land could be used to address growing mental health concerns of Gallatin Valley youth.
What happens now when a kid is in crisis, unfortunately, in our community, they often will end up in the emergency department and not get the services they need, and then go home or be shipped out of town or out of our state.
The Gallatin Behavioral Health Coalition is partnering with the HRDC and Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch to purchase this land for what could be the future site of the Gallatin Behavioral Health Campus.
But I want to make sure that the entire community is aware that the need is now, and we're coming forward with new services that don't exist now to meet this need.
According to the HRDC, the rates of suicide, depression, anxiety, and substance abuse in Montana teens is alarming. In the last 12 months, 21% of Gallatin County teens have considered suicide, and over 14% have actually attempted it.
On August 30th, we were able to close on the property, and we have temporary financing to help us get across the finish line, so that what we really need at this point is community members and other folks to step up so that we can make sure this is a reality for the children in this valley.
The campus will be operated by the Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch, a nonprofit operating in Billings that is dedicated to addressing youth mental health.
This campus, we think, gives us the opportunity to create those services here in this community and to partner with these wonderful people to make sure that these kids get the care they deserve.
The ranch reports receiving over 150 referral calls for service every month. The first phase of the project involves purchasing the campus. So far, Gallatin County has invested an initial $1.5 million, but $5.5 million is needed to fully purchase the land. In Bozeman, Heaven Van, MTN News.
Well, the old saying goes, if life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. Well, it turns out for one Bozeman business, life handed her apples, and as MTN's Sam Adams shows us, she's making cider.
With an increase in cider sales across Montana, Bozeman's Lockhorn cider is seeing this growing popularity.
People definitely start to think about apples this time of year, and we bring back our hot cider, so they love that as the temperature cools down.
When she's not practicing her balancing skills on the ladder, Anna Deal is the owner of Lockhorn Cider House.
Ooh, that's a foamy one.
For 10 years, this family-run operation has been on the corner of Main and Wallace in Bozeman, with a focus of including local ingredients in their beverages.
If you kind of think of the Gallatin Valley as a mature orchard and everybody's backyard just spread out, and there were so many apples that were just going to waste, because when the tree does well, it does really well.
What would have been wasted apples is now turned into Lockhorn's backyard brew. Just last year, Lockhorn collected around 14,000 pounds of apples for this seasonal cider, a beverage that Anna says has grown in popularity over the years.
That interest in cider is growing just because people are looking for something that's light and crisp as an alternative to beer.
And this trend isn't only seen at Lockhorn. According to the Northwest Cider Association, Montana has the fastest growing cider market in the Northwest with a 20% increase in sales. But why is this drink all the buzz?
I know a lot of people, myself included, that can't drink beer, but they can drink our cider.
Almost all hard cider is gluten-free, no added sugars, no preservatives, making it a more accessible drink to those who can't have beer due to dietary issues. On top of that, Anna believes the appeal to cider goes deeper.
What I don't often think about is that every drop of the beverage comes from an apple. So it's kind of fun to think about water coming up from the soil to the roots, to the tree, to the apple, and into your glass.
To help out the apple growers in the valley, Lockhorn is offering a free pint in exchange for 25 pounds of apples. In Bozeman, Sam Adams, MTN News.
Well, I gotta start finding apples, Matt.
Yeah, pick up some apples, get some booze.
Why not? I mean, that seems like
It's
a
a
pretty
match
good...
made in heaven.
That's a good trade to me. All right, we're gonna take a short break, but before we do, I have a pretty amazing story to tell you.
Okay.
Now, a U.S. couple, Sean and Christy, they decided to get married in Jerusalem on Tuesday. Now, this raised some eyebrows with friends and families just because of what's going on there right now, but the couple's faith was so strong, they wanted to get married in Israel, and they did on Tuesday, and of course that was the day that Israel got bombarded with all those missiles coming from Iran. And so in the middle of the celebrations, they had to go down into a bomb shelter in the restaurant that they were holding the wedding at.
Oh, wow.
Really, but that did not dampen their spirits, as you can plainly see.
Very happy. That's great.
The restaurant owner in the back messaging and FaceTiming with family and friends, letting them know that they're okay. And then they have this sign that says "Love wins," holding it up at the end of it.
That's a great message in the midst of tough situation.
Such a hard time over in the Middle East. Scary time. All right, 6:12. We're going to take a short break here on Montana This Morning. When we come back, we're going to have a look at your forecast, all your top stories headed your way, and Coast Guard to the rescue. But a Townsend woman being the Coast Guard captain. We're going to have that story coming up for you in just a little bit.